let me try to figure out how to broach that question with them. Maybe we could figure out some sort of system. There's there. So the short answer is I don't know. I'm going to move on quickly to, we are scheduled to have our first meeting exclusively around housing counseling with Mel Watt next week. So he's the director of FHFA and clearly an important person in our field. And there's a number of critical issues that we need to address, one of which is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have the 97% loan-to-value loan product, and as we talked about last time, it doesn't really require housing counseling, and I'm not going to go through the shadings this time, but I'm happy to do it if people need to know more. But Freddie doesn't really require anything beyond kind of loose definition of education, and Fannie on some loans requires some level of counseling, but not what we would think of, and in some nothing at all. And so our view is that it should be provided by HUD-approved housing counseling agencies, and so that'll be a big issue that we will want to raise and talk with Mel Watt and his team about, and especially about what the research currently is showing and the progress that's being made to really document the effectiveness of our work, both on the front end in the pre-purchase side, and then also if people have problems with the delinquency side. And I think the position right now on Fannie and Freddie and FHFA is that we got to be included in what's called a scorecard, which is how Fannie and Freddie get evaluated. This is a very big deal. There are only a few bullet points on there, and we got a point in there saying that over the course of the year they'll be studying housing counseling. So what we really wanted was implementing housing counseling rather than studying, but that is actually a big step forward. FHFA really felt like this is a big deal, and we need to figure out how to kind of leverage that into more specific programmatic pieces. So that'll be one piece of the conversation. Second one will be around language access, and we're still very open to lots of ideas. One of the things that has really been difficult in doing work with servicers and with, and to some extent with originators, is that they always say, well, we don't know what language people would prefer. So getting it built into the mortgage application and into the applications for the GSE HAMP equivalents so that it becomes tied to the loan and is available to anybody what the preferred language is. That's really our goal here. We think that this is like low-hanging fruit for them to do, but it would position themselves as a leader for all the agencies, and it would also give us a way for tracking language and really kind of give a permanent solution to the industry, or at least a framework for a permanent solution for the industry. There's a lot of work to be done after that. But there's other issues as well. So one of them was HCO, which we've brought up in different contexts. And I'm getting a bit mixed picture, so I'm very interested in what people think. I'm hearing that HCO was late in making January 1 deadline, but made it by the 12th. But that there's some improvements, and that the help desk is working more, which might be a direct victory from we're the only ones who are really kind of jumping up and down about this apparently, and they didn't know anything about it when we started last, well, what was it, September, October, but I've heard some reports that it's working better. So if it's not working, definitely want to know that. If it is working, that would be helpful to know. We'll also talk about 2- and 3-unit buildings and requiring housing counseling and landlord counseling for these buildings. Very big issue in the Northeast, and it turns out we're learning that Fannie and Freddie are discouraged about doing lending in 2, 3, and 4s, especially the 3s and 4s. And if we can provide an answer to that. We asked for it in the affordable housing goals, but this is the kind of thing that's important to them. It's actually important in the Northeast, but for 2s, for duplexes, all around the country, and you all know that somebody who's got a good price on a house and has a rental unit that contributes towards the household are often in better positions. We'll certainly talk about principal reduction, There'll be some other issues that we raise. But it's so interested in if people have got some thoughts about what else we should be doing. We'll have an hour, but it's nice. We were told that he's very interested in meeting with us, very eager. Certainly, people are using housing counseling as the model as we proceed. So, are there any quick questions here? Okay, hang on.
The first is whether you've heard anything about a movement that would require housing counseling organizations to be listed on the National Industry Standards website to be approved for homebuyer training and counseling for Fannie Freddie new products.
Well, I think I'm answering this question. So with a 97% LTV product, the Fannie Mae has a requirement that if you're getting a My Community mortgage, you have to use the curriculum, use the content of the National Industry Standards. And so that probably fits into what you just described, if I understand it right. And so that'll be the thing is you don't have to be an adopter, which is frustrating because you'd really like people to be in with both feet. And with Freddie, they do acknowledge the standards, but I don't know that it's a requirement. But they specifically say that groups that aren't adopters, like the mortgage insurance companies, there's a provision to include them. There's specifics that really do, that would fall outside of that. So I'm guessing what that means is that because the industry standards do figure in, even if it's not adoption, in especially in the Fannie terms of some of the loans, of the My Community mortgage loans, then that might be the place where they would get listed. But I haven't heard anything more specifically about that. There is obviously a list of agencies that have adopted and have endorsed on their website, which I had a chance to look at recently, trying to understand this all better. So let's see. Are we able to reach? Oh, okay. Do we have Cora Fulmore? We're talking back and forth. I'm sorry, we don't have the. We don't. Okay, well, let's see if we can bring Cora in, unless you want to take a couple questions first. So Matthew's. Hang on a second. Okay, so Cora, are you there?
I am.
Oh, right. This has been a very frustrating call in terms of communication, but glad to have you. Oh, and Barbara, are you with us? Not yet. Well, please keep trying. So, let's dive in then. So we're, I think, as an industry, always interested in figuring out how to better serve the publics that we have. And one of the places where there's some cutting edge and exciting work is with the field people who are coming back from tours of duty and or currently in service. So veterans counseling. And Cora, why don't you just give us a broad idea of what that counseling looks like?
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for allowing us to come on. And today I'm wearing another hat. Although I represent the Florida Housing Counselors Network, that is a member of this organization, I'm also representing the Counselors Corner, which is online training. We saw a few years back that there was a study that came out of CFPB about veterans and their plight as far as being targeted for high interest rate loans, many that were transitioning from the service, transitioning into a situation that they were not comfortable with as far as having a clear financial knowledge of how to handle many of their affairs. Many of them had gotten high interest rate loans. They have been targeted for payday loans and high auto loans and all of that. And we saw after that study came out the need to provide some additional education to the counseling community on working with veterans and some basic things that you should know if you decide to provide counseling to the veteran population. So we saw that there was a need to expand the service of financial literacy, and we weren't really off the mark on that because, as you can see, there's been a lot of chatter in the last few days about financial literacy and financial management and education being provided to the veteran population. We also realized that in order to provide this counseling, that we have to really understand how to understand the pay cycle of a veteran and understand how to read their some basic things, how to read their pay stubs. And from what I understand, a veteran's pay stub is quite different than the pay stubs that I issue to the people that work for us. And they have like 70 different pay categories, and depending upon the whether or not you're in the Army, the Navy, or whatever, it may look a little bit different. The pay stubs may look a little bit different. So we have seen that if counseling agencies are going to provide services in the space of financial literacy, financial coaching, or financial capability, it's very important that they understand the rate of pay, how to accurately calculate income. That's really important, particularly on the pre-purchase end, and also if you're looking at working with clients from dealing with debt management or any type of credit counseling type of thing. The other thing is to make sure that there's some clear understanding of the pay stub itself and the basic budgeting that's necessary. And then the other part that we found that there was a little lack of understanding with some of the counseling agencies, and that was with the SCRA and the importance of it and how that particular regulation works in assisting consumers. We got some data that showed that when, as a result of the national mortgage settlement, 666 service members and their co-borrower received about $88 million. And so that should not have happened. Not that they should not have gotten the money, but they should not have been foreclosed on anyway. And that some things that occurred as a result of lenders doing some things improperly, but also as a result of us not knowing how to work that particular program and to get the best benefit for our client. Now, the biggest question that SCRA.
What is that?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's the Service Member Civil Relief Act, and that's a regulation that really assists those active duty service members who have been deployed or are in an active duty type position, and they can get some relief not only on credit card debt but also in the handling of a mortgage foreclosure. So as a result of the national mortgage settlement, it was indicated that 666 service members benefited as a result of that particular settlement in receiving about $88 million. So the big question that we've gotten from counseling agencies across the country as we've tried to develop training around this particular subject is, how do we get paid for this? Are there opportunities in which we can receive funding to fund our organizations for specifically reaching out to that particular population. And I did some research in looking at that, and you would be surprised who's providing funding for this particular service. Home Depot has a program, and it's an unlikely group, but they've got two particular programs. One that is a rehab program for service members to be able to do some improvements to their home. There's 3 rounds of funding from Home Depot. The first round was in January, but there's another round, I believe, that's scheduled for February the 24th, and a determination will be made in August as to who's receiving the funding. That particular funding is up to $100,000 that an agency could apply for, but this is basically to provide modifications to the home and that type of thing. They also have another round that that is due in June. So I know the February is quite soon, but the June round is June 23rd, and the determination period on that is in December 15th. But there's also some other unlikely characters that could provide funding for a veterans type program. And Walmart, for example, it has said that they're providing not only grant funding, but they're also looking at opportunities to hire veterans. And they have made a commitment to hire up to 100,000 veterans by the year of 2018, I believe, is the date on it. And there are some other materials out there that can help counseling agencies, more specifically, particularly because we've got program managers and EDs on this call. You may want to take a look at the NEFI grant guide, which provides some pretty helpful information in there about some grant opportunities that are available to nonprofit organizations that are providing services to the veteran military population. What we've done through the Counselor's Corner is to create a training class. It's a basic course. We're calling it a basic certified military home specialist course that really helps the counseling community understand the different ranks that are involved in the military population, the income, pay, how to read a pay stub. It gives you a little generic information about FCRA, and it also has a test at the end for those who choose to take the exam, that a test of about 100 questions, I believe, that passing score is passing with at least 75%, and we issue a certificate for that particular course. And we're also in the process of developing an advanced course that gets really into what I think is really important that's coming down the pipeline, is the whole transition process for a lot of the military personnel that will be transitioning out of the military. And there's a requirement that they receive counseling by the military, but we know many of these individuals are going to want to achieve home ownership, and it's important that we understand their pay, if there is any pay for those that are retired, also the whole GI Bill and how to work the GI Bill from an educational standpoint, and what type of income those individuals would be receiving. So there's a lot going on in the space of working with the military population, and it just makes sense for the counseling community to play a role in this, because many of them will be coming into our office to seek assistance particularly if they're looking to achieve home ownership.
Well, great. This is very helpful. And Barb Irving, who was the person who actually, from Project Lift, who originally suggested this, as you know, we're having some audio problems with not able to get on. She did supply us with some names, and we'll circulate this of other funding and program resources to look at, and we'll try to circulate that after the call as part of Matthew's follow-up. We're getting some questions in. First, oh, you can't? Okay. So the question came, the first question is, you referred to a grant guide. What was that?
It is a grant guide that was created by the NEFI Foundation, and it's called the NEFI Grant Guide. And you can do a Google search. It's a PDF copy that you can go through, and they provide just a list of funders that provide financial grants to nonprofit organizations in the space of financial literacy and counseling, not specific to the veteran population or to military personnel, but anything dealing with financial literacy or financial counseling.
So you have to spell out the name.
It's NEFI, N-E-F-I-F-E, I'm sorry, N-E-F-E.
Oh, NEFI, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. People will Google that. I'm going to put you on hold for a second, and Matthew's going to give us some questions. Oh, no. Oh, okay. And actually, it's a simple question. When's the next training that are available? Are there any available in March?
There is a training that is available in March, and that training is scheduled for the 20th. Oh, gosh. There's one in February that's scheduled for the 25th of February. The March date, there's two scheduled, and you can go to the Counselor's Corner website, www.thecounselors.net website, and you will see the dates as they become available. But I do know that there are two scheduled for the month of March. There is one more that's scheduled in February, and it's scheduled for the 25th.
So what are the kinds of things that what are the kinds of problems that veterans come in with that people might expect in a typical counseling session?
It's really no different than the problems that we see on a day-to-day basis with the consumers that we're working with. The biggest challenge is having them to adjust to not having someone to take care of everything for them. In the military, housing is taken care of for the most part for many of the personnel. Many of the individuals that I have seen that we've actually worked with, their financial situations are no different. The good thing about it is that they come in with a lot of income savings because that's been drilled into them. Many of them have gone on, they've been deployed, they've banked their checks, and once they come back from being deployed, often they're being transitioned out of the military, and they have dollars that's saved. So, you have a population that really needs some strong education on budgeting and money management, how to prioritize their finances, what's important, and all of that. What we've seen based on the study that came from CFPB, you may even see individuals coming with car loans with high interest rates. These are in a market where the interest rate on a car is at 4%. They may be coming in with an interest rate of 9 or 11%. And it may be an opportunity for the counselor to talk about refinancing and getting a more reasonable interest rate on the vehicle.
I know when we've looked at payday lending issues that payday lenders flock around military bases.
Their military personnel are targeted, and we really don't understand. Well, we do understand why. It's a lack of financial sophistication. When you look at the demographics of the military personnel, the average age is about 21. So these are individuals that don't have a lot of knowledge on basic finance, basic budgeting, but basic, just basic financing, period. So they're easy targets, and there's a good chance of being able to build a strong foundation through a financial literacy or financial education program.
And there were some protections for people in service who are overseas and around their mortgage. I know during the Second Iraq War. Are those still in place, and what do they look like?
Yeah, under the SCRA, there are some protections. There's some protections as it relates to the highest interest rate that can be charged. There's also a protection as it relates to proceeding with a foreclosure or an eviction from an apartment complex. So these were some of the rights that were not taken into consideration at the height of the foreclosure crisis, and as a result of the National Mortgage Settlement, the service members were able to benefit from that national lawsuit.
I know that the VA has a set of programs that they really tout as being aggressive to help people who are having problems with their VA loans. What's your experience? Is that, do they do better than other
I've
lenders?
been personally, you know, Bruce, I not only own my counseling agency, but I also provide direct services myself. I actually counsel individuals with veteran loans, VA loans. And VA has been quite helpful here in Florida in working with the veterans. They have a program called a offer and compromise agreement, and under that particular program, VA can actually take back the loan, quite similar to HUD's participation in providing financial assistance, and also the PMI's financial assistance in helping a consumer as well. I have had great success in working with consumers on our end who've had VA loans and going directly to VA to ask for assistance. Often the servicer in the past had not been as they've not provided quite as much assistance in the past. We are seeing some changes there as well.
Barbara, when we were first talking about doing this call, one of the things she mentioned was that she had figured out how to get a referrals to her agency for veterans of specific pipelines. Do you have any suggestions if an agency went this direction, how they might become identified and have a client flow for this?
What we did here with our organization is that we went directly to the VA office in St. Petersburg and met with the individuals there. It did not allow us to get at the referrals from the VA. What it did allow is for VA to understand our organization, understand what we were all about, and the fact that we were there to assist the consumers, the veterans. And as a result, when we called for assistance, we got a receptive ear versus not getting someone who had no clue about our organization. We've not been successful in getting referrals. If Barbara was able to do that, that's a major feather in her cap. But we were not and have not been successful in getting direct referrals from the VA.
Or maybe support organizations. I don't know what it was. But so she did give us some funding opportunities, a list, and they were United Way Special Programs Grants, United Way Community Impact Grants, Veteran Administration Grant, and then she's in Texas, so Texas Veterans Commission, state funds, and then federal appropriations. And I would think that this would be compelling for some foundations and maybe for some corporations. And you mentioned Home Depot and that sort of thing. Is the but that this could be a niche where your agency stands out in terms of being able to deliver services that are kind of meeting a need that is being met well now.
All of those opportunities that Barbara mentioned are definite opportunities. There are a lot of foundations that have an interest in the veteran population and military. I think it's really critical that the nonprofits do their homework in searching it out. These are national groups that have identified on their website that they have an interest in addressing the needs of the veteran population, and it's on their website. So I would encourage each of them, in every community, there are there's one that I found, I believe it's called Safeway. I believe that's a food chain that also has an interest in reaching and assisting the veteran population. So we've got to be creative in our approach when we are writing the grants. Barbara is an expert grant writer, and she knows how to convey the message and tell the story for her nonprofit organization. And we have to be able to do the same in our respective areas.
I just see in our note here that she did have these referral sources and collaborative partners, and for her area it was United Way 211 Veterans Services, the Wounded Warrior Project, Volunteers Active After Disaster, it's called VOAD. Apparently each state and city has a VOAD. Community agencies serving veterans, and then the Veterans Administration. So, you know, it's opportunity for some real creativity here, but also some high-impact work. So, Cora, I didn't actually properly introduce you as Cora Fulmore, though I thought you did a pretty good job of explaining your various hats you wear. But, you know, obviously Cora's a long-time veteran of the housing counseling world, so, and has been at many of the early and mid and current projects that help define our work. Oh, Barbara might be on. Barbara, are you there?
Bruce, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm in.
You're in for the last 3 minutes of the call. Is there something you would like to add?
Well, you know, Cora did an amazing job. She knows that I just think she's incredibly brilliant. I will say everything that Cora said, I'm just going to just go ahead and just affirm big time in terms of the veterans population, but I would like the attendees to know, just as Cora said, that now is the time for housing counseling agencies, and I think we all realize this, that we have to look at sustainability. I remember Cora talking about this a few years back in terms of getting housing counseling agencies to expand their services, to be more creative in our offerings, and at the same time sticking with our core. So having said that, we've served veteran populations here for 10 years, and I think now that our current president and his wife have taken such a strong stance. As a matter of fact, we can go back to Mr. Shinseki when he declared some years back that veterans' homelessness would be brought to an end within, I think several years ago, he said within 10 years. Well, I can tell you from experience and from nationwide interaction, veterans are at the forefront of funding, securing our veterans, ensuring that our post-9/11 veterans are, and as Cora said, I have 3 minutes, so I'm all over the place, but ensuring that these veterans who are coming home, who are in mortgage difficulty, who the payday loan predators, we see all of this on a daily basis. Now, one of the things we found and learned from our experience is that we hit the ground and put boots on the ground, networking with the VA and providing a quarterly summit for them, and we looked up and we realized that we're getting all of these referrals. Now, who's going to pay for this? Because, as you all know, we have enough trouble as it is trying to get money to pay for housing counseling services. So perhaps a future conversation might look like how to incorporate a comprehensive veteran services program into your housing counseling program, and I think we've gotten pretty creative with that. And I just want you guys to know that one of the programs, and Cora remembers this, one of the programs that I'm beginning to see nationwide, we didn't, for the most part, put dibs on it, but some years ago, Cora had us do a straw man presentation for a funder in which we needed to get pretty creative. And we came up with a program called Home Again that we targeted here in Houston veterans who are returning back from overseas and who are in financial difficulties, many of whom are at the threshold of losing their jobs. We were funded by Wells Fargo for that program, and since that time we've received multiple year funding for that veterans program. The VA is an excellent source to start getting referrals, but you've got to get to know your Veterans Administration, especially in the Employment Services Department, and do a collaboration, because we now collaborate on that grant and per diem program, to whereas one agency is providing strictly housing, but we provide the rental counseling and we all benefit from the funds. So if there was ever a time to expand your services and to look at sustaining your housing counseling program, it would be now to go ahead and augment your programs to include our veterans populations.
Well, that's great, and maybe we should try to figure out a context to have a broader conversation on some of these issues. But this has both been helpful. Thank you very much, Barb and Cora. Thank you, Cora. Thank you, Barb, for being so patient and actually getting in here. And we'll circulate the link to the certification program that Counselor's Corner has. So hopefully some people will take advantage of that or have their staff take advantage of it. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I'm sorry this was a difficult call. I know we had a lot of technical problems we don't usually have, and we're going to figure out what, if somebody has got we're using GoToWebinar, if somebody's got a system that works better than this, I'd love to hear about it. This was a frustrating moment here, and we want it to be easy for people to access the information. You know, we've had a really good year last year in terms of groups joining, and really appreciate the fact that many groups are renewing now. This has really been an important part of our budget and our ability to do what we do, and pay. And you know, membership dues is the most flexible fund, so we can use it for lobbying, we can use it for transportation, flying out to people's meetings and things like that. And we are doing this regularly, so this is what keeps us going and keeps us alive. We'll we do have some membership benefits, and that's great, but really I think why people join is so that we can do our work better and more effectively. If you've got some thoughts about HCO, if you've got some that we need to know about, the First Look program, actually, I'll send an email out this afternoon to try to collect some information. It would be really helpful to hear because we'll be talking to the decision makers next week and can really use your input on all these things. If you need more information on joining NHRC, just go to our website, and there's you can click right into the membership form. And would love to have you if you're not joined already, and many of you are. We really appreciate that a lot. Okay, well, have a good week. Certainly look out for calls from Matthew about working with Republicans in your district. If you've got some initiatives, please reach out to them. We appreciate the people who've already reached out on this. Got a lot of work to do this year, but also lots of big opportunity. Thanks a lot, everybody.